So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adebola. I'm the event team lead of MLSA. It's nice to have everyone here. So we're starting a series. It's called the Spotlight Series. So it's a series in which every month we would have a tech track, and we'll have a, a professional in that field come to speak to us about his experience, and would have like a ask me questions, like a question and answer session in which both beginners and entry level, intermediate level can come, ask questions, seek clarifications on that specific tech track of the month. So for this month, it's front end month. Woo! So it's front end month, and we have Emmanuel stepping here to speak to us for this session. So we're a few minutes behind, so I'll just get right into the program of the day. Yeah. So let me introduce our speaker. Our speaker is Emmanuel Stephen. He is a front-end developer, is a software engineer and a technical writer with over 4 years of experience. He's currently a front-end developer at Revent Technologies and has been involved in various projects that includes front-end development, React, JS, and more. Stephen has made contributions as an educative author and has published articles and courses on topics such as React Forms with Formic and blockchain technology. His journey through tech and university is marked by a holistic review of his experiences and shared in his personal articles. Fun fact, he's still a student just like us. So it's it's great to have you here, Stephen, to come speak to us about your experience, about how you transitioned, and it will be a great opportunity for us to learn from you. It's over to you.
All right, thank you, Amadebola. Yeah, so my name is Stephen, as you have said, and I'm also known as Steph Brown. So I think on more of my social media platforms, it's Steph Brown. All right, so at this point, am I to talk about my experience, my journey and experience?
Okay. You can speak about how you got into tech, your transitioning, how it went for you. Did you do any boot camp? Did you learn on your own? Just a brief history about your journey.
All right, so yeah, so my tech journey started in quite unexpected fashion in 2019. That's like 4 years ago or 5 years, 5 years ago. That's late 2019. So before I entered the university, I did not know a lot about I did not know anything actually about programming, and I did not know a lot about operating computers. So in fact, while in secondary school, while in junior secondary school, I wanted to become an accountant. I wanted to do accounting. For one reason or the other, I joined science class. I think okay, so the reason was because there was this hype around science class, and my teacher actually said that commercial students are usually the ones that are not good in maths or that are not really intelligent. And when I wanted to join commercial class, it kind of discouraged me, so I joined sciences. But when I wanted to enter the university, I did not want to do engineering. So I just decided to do mathematics because I kind of like mathematics. Although computer science was one of the options for me. But I like I said, did not know a lot about computers. So I did mathematics. So in my 100 level in 2019, there was this course we did. I think everybody in science, engineering, and education did its introduction to computer FSC 11. Was it 113? I think it was 113. Right. So there was this topic in the course introduction to programming. So that was my first, and that was the first time I was hearing. I mean, I play games. I um played video games, and I have applications on my Android phone. But I did not know that. Okay, this was the. I did not know how all of those things you know, came live, right? So it was during that course that I came to understand that this, it was programming, it was through programming that these things came to be, and I was interested. So that course, I did well in the course in that introduction to computer science, and in second semester, I had to pick another computer science course as an elective, right? Because I was, interested. So the one I did then was software workshop, and I also did well in the course. We did C programming language, and so from there I started loving programming, and that was how I got into that's how I started, like, basically. So after the semester, that's after 100 level second semester, when I wanted to enter 200 level during the holiday, I decided to like do more exploration into what programming is about, and check out other programming languages. So I saw there was Python, there was different programming languages, and then I also saw that looking at my perspectives in like that the courses I'll be doing in 200 level first semester, I saw that there was this course where we'll be making use of Python. So I said, in that case, let me start learning Python. So when I was in Python, I was trying to check out the things I could do with Python. And then I thought then that data science was something good for me. Yeah, I saw you could use Python for software engineering, data science, machine learning, and a lot of other things. So I wanted to do data science then. So I was learning Python. I was using this textbook. I've forgotten the name, but I downloaded this PyDroid. That's at the time I did not have a laptop, so I was using my phone. I downloaded this PyDroid app. Python developers probably that have coded with their phone probably have used the app before. So that was what I was using to learn Python. Now, also during that holiday, during the one that's before we entered 211, there was this a classmate of ours. He sent a group chat link to the group that I wanted to like take people on HTML, CSS during the holidays. So that was the first time I was hearing about HTML. So I did a quick Google search, and then I saw that it was this HTML that was being used to create websites. When you go to your browser, you search for something, is HTML. Most of that, all those information that you're seeing was created with HTML, and then it kind of interested me. I joined the class, although the class did not last for long, but I learned a thing or two. So when the class ended, I downloaded a book that was about web development, and then I started that as well. So at this time I was learning Python, and I was also learning HTML. So when 200 level started, there was this, I think most of us know ECX, Engineering Career Expo. So I saw one of the flyers in a WhatsApp group, I think our class WhatsApp group. So when I saw the tracks, there was Python, there was front end, there was different tracks. So I joined front end. I wanted to join Python, but my friend Emeka is actually here. So he said, since we were doing Python in school during that semester, that there was no need doing Python in school and also doing Python with CCX. So we decided to pick front end, and that was how I started my front end journey. I was actually, like I said, I was using phone at the time. I was using this app, AN Writer. So yeah, so after that time or during that semester, there was the ASU strike, and then there was Corona, that's the COVID lockdown. So when the COVID lockdown started, I kind of dropped the whole programming stuff. But a few months, I think a month or 2 months after, there was this ECX 30 days of code challenge that they did. And that made me pick up coding back. Right. I think I joined the front end challenge and then the Python challenge. So that was when, because before then I had only learned about HTML, CSS. But for the challenge, they were also giving challenges on JavaScript. So that was when I picked up JavaScript, and so I started doing JavaScript. And then during that year, so I think that was 2020. So during that year, I saved up to get a laptop, and then before I got the laptop, I actually had started learning React. So when I built a couple of things, basic stuff with React at the time. So when I got my system, I started applying for gigs, and then I got my first gig like less than 2 months after getting my first system. And that was how I started earning, and I got a full-time job almost towards the end of that particular year. So that's basically the thing. So I also explored other fields like the year. Okay, yes. So before I got my system, I was participating in this internship, Migrant Solutions. If you know of this guy, Joseph Brendan on Twitter or LinkedIn, he was the one that was facilitating this stuff. So he taught us, the internship was a full stack kind of thing. He did front end, back end with Node.js and Figma UI design. So then, like I was still, with phone, and I did the React, the Node.js. I could use Temox for my terminal. That's to run all these command prompts. So, but for the Figma, you cannot use phone to design stuff on Figma. So I just usually join the class without doing anything. So when I got the system, I just a few months after I got the system, I decided to explore that as well. So I started learning UI design with Figma, and I designed some nice stuff. Even one of the apps I designed is actually live on Google Play Store and App Store. So that's the name of the app, is Geniverse. So yeah, so that's basically how I started doing design. And then during, I think, some months after I started doing design, DSC, that's Developer Students Club, GDSC, they organized a study group for different tracks. So I joined design. And I think the first task that was given to us was to write about the difference between UI and UX, right? So while I was doing that assignment, while I was writing about that, I saw that, but I actually enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed writing. So after that particular assignment, I decided to also explore technical writing, and that was how I started doing technical writing. And I've written a couple of articles, and I've also published a course on educative. So yeah, that is it. So basically, I've explored design, technical writing, front end. But as at last year, I decided, I think last year, early last year or late last 3 years, I decided to pause, stop doing design. I wanted to focus on engineering, right, front end and technical writing. And last year, I decided to also, explore other aspects of engineering. I started learning backend and a bit of DevOps. So yes, it's I've already taken a lot of time. So basically, that was how I started, and currently I'm still a front end developer, learning backend and a bit of DevOps. Yeah, so that's it.
Wow. I must say that I'm so proud of your journey. It's really great to know that we have students who kept up a course during COVID, and they are still on it, and they dwelled in that path very, very much. So we have a couple of questions that we have written down. It might not be able to So after I ask, the floor will be thrown open to anyone.
So your line is breaking.
Any questions? As can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. No.
Oh, okay. I said that we have some questions that we have written down, which I would ask now. If you have any questions, I'm speaking to the attendees. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat box, and then he's going to answer the question. Thank you. So the first question I have here is, what? How do you balance? How do you approach the balance between user experience and performance when designing and implementing your front end solutions?
All right.
Did you
So
get that?
yes, I did. How do I balance user experience and performance when designing front-end solutions? All right. Yeah, so
Yes, you're correct.
personally, I am quite enthusiastic about good user experience. I think it's because I did a bit of UX UI design, right? Even when you when you give me design to implement as a front-end developer, if I don't fancy the design, I would not enjoy working on the project. But when I fancy the design, that the beauty of the design is also like a motivating factor to work on the project. So and good user experience goes beyond beautiful design, right? Although beautiful design is also one thing, but it's more about how easy a user can make use of the app, right? So the balance between UX and performance, I think good performance is actually part of good user experience, because um performance is the speed at which a system or an application can respond to user interaction. So as a user, when I click on this button, I expect that the system lets me know that it has already the system responds to my click immediately. If it's taking seconds, it kills the experience for me. So and I think front end developers need to pay attention to this, that user experience is not a job for just the designers. So you cannot just say because it's user experience, there's only the designers that need to pay attention to that, right? So as a front-end engineer, I think when a design is given to us, we need to go through the user flow from the beginning from the landing page or from the sign up page to the different flows, and then we need to also make use of the app like a user would. We need to make reviews to the designers, and also because I know that designers and front end developers, they fight a lot, right? But I think we need to be, because at the end of the day, the goal is to build an application that is useful to the user. When the user is using this application and they don't find it usable, they're not going to say it's the designer that caused it. They're not going to say the front end engineer. They don't even know, a normal user, an average user does not know who is a front end engineer, who is a designer. So we need to, collaborate in terms of making sure that the experience is good for the user, right? So in fact, the best scenario is that during the design phase, at the point when the design is about to start, right, it's best for the designers, the developers, and the product manager or the project manager should have a session. They should discuss together. They should not leave that conversation for just the designers, right? They should discuss together and come up, because the more the more the heads, the better conversation it should be. So they should think of ways to give the application or the feature better user experience. And then there are some tips for better performances. I think optimizing images, right? So when your image is very large, it kind of reduces the time of load for the page. So there are some CDNs that you can use to store images that are large, that you don't want to have in your in your code. So CDNs like Cloudinary and other ones, you can store the images or the files there, and then you can get a link that you can use in your code instead of storing that image in your code, and then before the page loads, it would have to process the image first. Also, I think it's not just the work of the front end actually in making sure a page is responsive. It's also the back end also have a role to play, right? So when the backend is sending data to the front end, they have to be careful of the size of data. You need to send what is absolutely useful to render that page, right? You see some APIs sending data, and then they'll be sending large amount of data at the same time with the same endpoint, and then you check most of those the data they are sending, the front end is not using it to render that particular page. So something like that is also going to delay you just see that user is seeing a loader for a long time. And when you are testing your page, you are probably using internet or 5G and your page is loading fast. But we need to understand that most users most users don't have 5G. In fact, most of them don't have 4G. They are usually using 3G, and it's not going to load as fast for them. So you can also there are some tools you can use to check the performance of your app, on different networks, right? There's Lighthouse by Google. So that's what I usually use. You can use that as well to check how well your application is performing. So yeah, so I hope that answers the question.
Well, your answer even spilled into my next question. That was a very great answer. So my next question was going to be, how do you work with the other tech teams? For example, the design team, the backend team. How do you start if you were to work on a project at work? How do you start? How do you manage your your communication, your collaboration to ensure that there is synergy, the product works, and that when it is due, it launches at the right time. So how do you, because everybody knows that design people always fight. They're always, I've had experience with them. They're always, very, very proud. So how do you manage that? Or if you have any experience, kindly share with us.
All right, thank you for that question. So like I said in the during my answer to the last question, the best scenario, right, I think, based on my experience, is that during the planning phase, during the points where maybe your CEO or the client says they want to add this feature to their project, to their application, or they want to build this application, during that point, it should not be left to just the designers to design the app, to think of the flow for the app, right? It should be a conversation between the designers, the developers, the product manager, the project manager. Although product and project manager are usually the same, person or the same group of people, right? They should, have this conversation on how the app is supposed to be. Everybody needs to understand the app, what the app is doing, because you find out that, and based on my experience, you find out that sometimes, right, a lot of times, you are building an app and then you ask this person, maybe the backend developer or the front end developer, what is the thing supposed to do? And they'll be like, they don't know. And you'll be like, why? They say they're not the one working on it, or they're not the one that designed it, or something like that. But it should not be the case. Even if you're not the one that designed, you're not the one that wrote the code for that particular feature. As long as you are working on that application, you should actually have an idea, right? So during the planning phase, the entire team needs to discuss on the flow they are going to take, and then the front end and the back end, they need to probably have a meeting and discuss the ERD, the architecture. Usually the front end usually leaves that architecture discussion to just the back end. But even if as a front end you don't know what an ERD is, or you don't know what how to draw this architecture, you don't need to know it. You just need to discuss with your backend developers, and the backend developers need to tell you for the different flows, for the different pages, which kind of data that they'll be expecting from you, which kind of data they'll be giving you, so that when you are building, because usually when the designer has designed the page, the front end will first, implement those designs, and then when the back end API is ready, now start to consume. And when you are designing, or when you're implementing design, when you are creating those components, the props or the properties you are giving to each component is you are the one that's coming up with those. And then when the APIs come, you will probably have to change some of those properties based on what the API has. But if you have a situation where before you even started implementing the design, you have had this conversation with the backend, and the backend guy has told you that for this particular thing to be rendered, right, these are the properties this is the object I'll be giving you. So you have seen this user object, these are the fields that the user object has. So when you're implementing maybe a user profile card or a user page, you know that to access the profile photo, you are using profile underscore photo, right? To access this particular field, the username, you are using user underscore name. I think that's better rather than when you are implementing your design, you used name, and then when the API comes in, you have to go and change it to user underscore name. So all of those things would kind of make the whole thing faster, right? So based on the brainstorm conversation, the backend, another thing which is what we, where I work, what we usually do, based on the brainstorming conversation during the first few weeks, say first week or first 2 weeks, and the backend developer should already have created all the APIs, right? They don't need to have put logic inside those APIs. They just know that, okay, for this feature, we would need 6 different APIs. We need an API to fetch list of users. We need an API to fetch a single user. We need an API to, do all of these things. So they just need to create those routes. They don't need to add logic, right? So that and of course publish maybe to development environment also, so that when the front end sees that documentation, they can just see the documentation immediately. They know this is the endpoint they are going to call for this. They know that this is the data they are passing to this endpoint, and they know that this data they are receiving, even though when they call the endpoint is not going to work at the time because logic is not yet there. But at least the skeleton of this whole thing, and then it's going to make it faster, right? So, and to conclude, I think the most important factor is communication, right? So one thing my engineering manager where I work would always say that she does not want to hear that it's the back end or it's the front end. There are sometimes that there's a bug on the application, and when she asks, or when anybody asks, the front end guy will be like, no, that's a back end bug. She will be like, no, there's nothing like a back end bug or a front end bug. It's the team. When the client is using that app, they don't care that it's a back end bug. It's the entire team that has the bug. So we need to work together to make sure that there is no bug in the system. So yeah, constant communication with each other is the best way to make sure that the app is usable, functional, and free from bugs.
All right, that's great. So my last question goes thus: in a rapidly evolving tech landscape, how do you stay updated on the latest tools, frameworks, and best practices for front end development? We know that when a new tool comes up, everybody is trying to learn one tool, be updated. How do you, in your own personal way, stay updated?
Yeah, so reading, right? Reading. So we cannot emphasize it enough. It's beyond just watching tutorial videos, and you probably have watched tutorial videos how to um maybe 3 hours tutorial video on how to start working with React. So after that 3 hours tutorial video, what next? You start working with React, start creating projects and stuff. But even beyond that, you cannot just say you are you can say you're a React developer, but it does not just stop there. You have to keep reading articles on React, reading updates, because every day or every now and then there are updates to some libraries, there are updates, breaking changes to React, new versions of packages coming in, and stuff like that. And every day we have hundreds of technical articles being published, right? And and I know some people don't like to read. I'm actually one of those people that don't like to read like that. But it's important that the best way is to read. You can just wake up today and just search. There's this platform daily.dev. If you don't want to just do a wild search, you can just go to daily.dev, and then you see articles that was probably published yesterday across different platforms, and then you can just read through just to get, you might not be reading for a particular purpose. You are just reading to stay updated, right? New trends, new versions, updates, breaking changes, new frameworks, stuff like that. We also another way is also to engage in online community discussions like WhatsApp, Slack, tech groups, Discord, and stuff like that. You should also, you can also check out, GitHub issues, right? Open source. So this is you can, because there are some people that they don't, at the moment have a job at the moment, and or they don't have a particular project they're working on, so they don't know how to apply some of the things they've learned. So you can check out open source projects, and then you can contribute there. You'd have the chance to work on actual projects, even if you have the chance to work on actual projects and gain some of those experiences. So yeah, those are that's the way I think you can stay up to date with with the tools you are working with and the frameworks you are working with. Then you also asked about best practices for front end. So best practices, I think one of them is semantic using, although most people actually ignore this. You see some websites, a lot of websites, and I'm also guilty of this as well. You are always seeing div, right? Everything div. You want to write the text, you're using div. You want to write a header, you want to display a header, you're using div. So everything should not be div. There's something called semantic HTML. So there are some HTML tags that are made specifically for a particular purpose, right? And it's necessary because this would also help in boosting the, what do they call it now, the SEO, the search engine, optimization, when you use the right tags for the right purposes. So another thing, I've said this before, optimizing your images, your assets. Then there's another one, implementing lazy loading. So when you are using normal or vanilla JavaScript, just HTML, CSS, JavaScript, when you have different pages, right? When you load the first page, it's only loading content for that page, which is fine. But when you are using a framework or a library like React is not a framework, a library like React or a framework like maybe Vue, Angular, most times these frameworks load the entire application. They load, so you have 10 pages in your app, right? And the user just wants to see the home page, but React will load all 10 pages at once, especially React that is just React, not Next.js, not server-side render stuff, just client, normal plain React. It will load all 10 pages at once. And of course, this would delay, the time that it takes to load just the home page is different from the time it takes to load 10 pages. So there's something called lazy loading that you can use to tell React that, okay, so when I load this page, I only want it to load the content for this page, right? I don't want it to load the content for the other 9 pages. So you can, it's important, right, to do that. So there's also accessibility. Although myself, I'm guilty of this, right? There are lots of people that use our applications that people with disabilities. Some of them have disabilities of the eye. They are not seeing what they are reading. They have this. There are some devices that read the things on the website to them, and then what these devices make use of to read this information to them is this accessibility information. So when you are creating your application, it's also necessary to take that into consideration, that there are some people like this that will be using your application, and you have to ensure that it's accessible. Yeah, so I think that's the things I can think of now, for best practices.
All right, thank you very much, Stephen. So I'm going to throw the questions open now. So if you have any question, kindly raise your hand so I can allow you to speak. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So you can speak now.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon,
Good
everyone on the
afternoon.
call. I'm very sorry actually. It's not about question because you requested for question, but just more or less like I'm speaking something of it. Or I'm a newbie actually. I just started so HTML and CSS, but I've not started something related to JavaScript. But I will be directing this to I'll be directing this to Rika. If possible, it can be the mentor actually. Actually, I have someone that is looking I can see that it's well versed and well groomed as far as frontend is concerned. So I don't know if he can welcome me so that I can be my mentor actually. If I need any something, I can easily get in touch with him.
Okay, so if I can be your mentor, is that what you're asking?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I am actually available, right? So you can, yeah, that can be possible. But when you say mentor, define, what do you expect, right? I so
Actually,
okay, go ahead.
I want to take I want to take you as a mentor in terms of maybe as far as content is concerned, materials you can guide me to. I would think some of the sites I can visit as well for me to work good.
Okay, yeah, I am available for that. So I have a couple of good materials that I can direct you to, and if you probably have some issues, you can also reach me. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, and everyone hear me?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, sorry to just butt in like that. I just wanted to add to that. Uh, by Yusuf, are you on the MLSA Unilag community? Are you on the group chat? Yusuf, are you there?
Now
Yes,
you
I'm
speak.
there.
You might.
I'm not on the chat, sir.
Oh, you're not. Okay, so there's actually a community of people like you that want to learn a technology, and part of our goal as a community is to help people like you to
Okay.
get like a foothold in the space. So if you join the community, you get access to tons of resources that will help you to learn. And part of our plan is to also host, boot camps. Basically just sessions where we teach people, some of these technologies. And what we are doing today is like it's somehow these tracks. So we do it every month. For this month, it's front end and spotlighted that track, and we'll be doing a bunch of things centered around front end development. Coming soon is a CSS challenge, which spoiler, but we are going to be sending more information to the group chat soon enough. So there's tons of opportunity to learn and meet with other people that are also looking to learn like you in the community. Um, we'll be sending a link to join the community shortly before this call ends. So just keep your eyes on in the chat. You see a link where you can fill a form and yeah.
Okay, but I'm very sorry. I've been trying to click on the chat, but it's telling me something wrong actually. Something went wrong. I don't know. Hello, can you hear me?
You got an email. You got an email, but you couldn't join.
No, I mean on the
Oh, you
chat.
see.
On the chat now. Currently on the chat. I can't open the chat here now. I don't know. Maybe
Oh, you
something
can't
wrong.
open the chat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
But okay, can you help me this way now? Can I give you my number? I don't mind.
yeah, sure. There's
Okay.
a, you know what? Let me. So you can't see the messages we've been sending to the chat so far.
Yes. 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 So far.
Is there anyone else facing this issue, or is it just? Can
Actually,
everyone else see the chat?
when we started, I was able to drop message, but presently I can't drop message any longer.
Right. Okay.
Oh, so
Um.
I think if you
Yeah,
can't
go
hear
ahead.
message, it might be network.
Oh,
And can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah, I
hear
can
you
hear
fine.
you.
Oh, okay. Just before, and he's not saying now. It might be network. Might be a network issue. Okay, so
Okay, so you
think
you fill the form for this. Do you fill the form for this event?
Yes, I think some for it, sir.
Okay, all right. So I'll reach out to you via the email that you signed up with.
The email, okay. Um, can you hear me? Yakub Yusuf at
Yeah.
gmail.com. Yakub Yusuf at
okay.
gmail.com.
Yes. So I reach out to you via that email.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
Okay.
you, Yusuf. So do we have anyone with another question? Any other person with another question? Kindly raise your hand. All right. So Stephen, I have a personal question for you. So I'd like to ask that what's the most exciting team or what's the most exciting project that you've worked on individually or as a group, probably in a competition or something? So what's that one competition, one project that you've worked on that is still, is when you think about it, it still makes you very happy?
Okay, so I think the one that I've worked on, that when I think about it, that okay, it's actually an in-house an application, I worked on with my company where we built there, because my company, we build enterprise applications for other companies, banks and stuff. So this particular application, I was the lead for the project, and I like the way I structure the application, the reusability, and all of those things, right? So the application is an app that helps the client process law enforcement agency tasks. So the company can law enforcement agencies like EFCC, NDLEA, and stuff like that, they can request, make a request to the company that they want to, they want the company to do this particular thing, or they want to get this information from the company. So they needed a way to manage this request from these law enforcement agencies. So I was the lead on the project, and I think that's it was actually recent, about last year. So that's one that has, so I think thinking about it now, I think there's also another one. There's this application where we built now this is not my company actually. It was a freelance project. So we built an application where medical specialists can um um read images. So by images, when you go to the hospital, or you go to not hospital, you go to this diagnostic center or laboratories basically to run scan, like radiology scan, X-ray, and stuff like that. You of course you cannot read it, so you have to take the X-ray, the results, to a doctor, a specialist, to be able to read it and provide um diagnosis, something like that. So this platform makes it possible that, because there are some advanced readings that the specialist that can read this particular image. When I say image, I mean that document, right? The specialist that can read it is probably not around the area. So with this platform, the diagnostic center, right? The laboratories can upload these images on the platform, and they can contact these specialists from anywhere in the world, and right on the application. They don't have to download because of this whole privacy stuff. So they can, on the platform, analyze the image. There are some tools that they can use to process, do some processing on the image and, add the comments and also get paid as well, because that's the whole point of the thing. So yeah, so that's also another, that was also, it was also very difficult to, work on that. There was this library we had to use. We also had to learn, I also had to learn a lot about this medical imagery and stuff like that. So that's another one that I think was nice.
All right. Thank you so much. So, my final question, you're still a student. How do you manage your time with work, with school, with extracurricular activities? How do you ensure that you are not burning out, not stressing yourself, not having panic attacks? Oh, I have work, I have school, I have this, I have to meet this, I have to be social, I have to be friends, I have to be, and all of those things.
So to be honest, I'm not the best person to answer this question, but I think it's difficult to not stress yourself, right? Combining school, your job, sometimes, working two jobs. Some people work two jobs, do school. But I think it's important to have, like, the one, what do they call it now? What do you prefer to do most, right? There are some people that are in school that are just about the degree, which is fine, right? They don't care about first class, or they just want to, maybe finish the 2-1, 2-2, and they put much focus on tech, which is fine, because not everybody, even if you have a first class, right, not everybody is going to make use of that, make use of that. So if, you have seen yourself and you've seen that tech is the way, I think you should put that, much focus there. So you can also put, some focus in your education, try to get a 2-1, 2-2 first class if you can. And then if you feel like school is the way, right, then it's about priorities, right? So then you put that as a priority. If you feel like school is the way, then you don't have any business doing 3 jobs. I think even 2 jobs self, maybe focus on one, get some gigs and stuff. And then so there's also some people that feel like both is the way, right? Tech and school is the way. So those kind of people, there's a period maybe during the beginning of the semester, towards the middle, you put more focus on your work, tech and stuff. Then maybe as exam is approaching, you put more focus on school. Maybe 3 weeks to the exam or 2 weeks to the exam, you can probably get a break from work. Get a leave, 1 week, 2 weeks leave, and try to read, and yeah, hopefully you do well in the exam. So there's no straightforward answer to this. It also depends on the person, right? There are some people that prefer to work at night and during the day maybe sleep a bit, go to school, do assignment, and then at night they work. While there are some people that they prefer to do everything during the day. At night they are not able to do anything. So it's just for you to understand yourself, right, and understand which you actually prefer to do most, whether school or tech. And yeah, it's very possible to do both of them at the same time. Yeah, so that's what I think. So for me, I'm actually doing both of them at the same time. I'm working and I'm doing school, and I'm trying to juggle both of them. I want to do well in both of them. I don't want to like do well in one and leave one out. So yeah, so by God's grace, I'm trying to do that.
All right. So thank you very, very much. It's not easy being a student and also working. So it's been nice having you here to come to speak to us about your experience, about your knowledge. I personally have had a very good time here. I've learned a lot, and hopefully next time when we're having probably a combined session with probably the back end, the design, and the front end, we'll have you here once again. So on behalf of Microsoft students Learning Association of Unilag. I want to say thank you for coming to speak to us. So, would like to take a picture. And and before I go, Stephanie, can you tell us your Instagram handle, your Twitter handle, and your LinkedIn name in case we have anybody here who'd like to reach out to you personally, like you said?
All right, so Twitter is Stefron06. Let me just type it I'll type it on the chat box.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So I'm not active on Instagram, so just Twitter and LinkedIn is fine.
Okay, right. That's good. So with that being said, we've come to the end of this spotlight series. It's front end. So next month is going to be design. Our spotlight series is going to be on design. So tell your design friends that we're talking design, we're talking colors, we're talking micro interactions in design, and let's get to have this once again. So before we go, I would like all of us to switch on our camera if we can to take a group picture. Just a few people to know. Um, I'm not sure if it's my network here. So if we can, please let's. Asa, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello? Oh, okay. So when you're taking this, just let me know. Yes, we can see you, Paul. So everybody cheese. So we're good to go.
Yeah, I've done. I've taken the picture already. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's great to have you, and see you next month on the Spotlight series on design. Bye bye.